Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation window of outpost Zarth 7, watching the twin suns set over the purple landscape. She had been traveling for 3 months to reach this place, deep in the frontier territories where the Galactic Council was trying to make friends with a new species. Her reflection stared back at her from the glass. Brown eyes, dark hair pulled into a practical bun, and the blue uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. She looked tired but excited. "Dr. Chen, they're arriving," said Lieutenant Marcus Webb, another human from her team. He looked nervous. The Vixari delegation just docked. Sarah turned from the window and smiled at him.
"Relax, Marcus.
"They're just people." "Different people, but still people." Marcus shook his head. "Did you read the briefing? They're apex predators, pure carnivores. 3 council researchers died, just trying to study them from a distance. Their cubs are supposed to be even more dangerous than the adults because they don't have self-control yet." Sarah had read the briefing. She had read all of them multiple times. The Vixari were tall, powerful beings that looked like someone had mixed a large cat with a humanoid body. They had retractable claws, powerful jaws, and could run faster than any human. Their homeworld was a jungle planet where everything wanted to kill everything else. The Vixari had climbed to the top of the food chain through strength, speed, and intelligence. But Sarah had grown up on Earth, in the forests of Canada. She had worked with wolves, bears, and mountain lions at her family's wildlife rehabilitation center. She knew predators. She understood them in a way that most people didn't. Predators weren't evil. They were just animals trying to survive, same as everyone else. The dining hall had been prepared for the first formal meeting. Ambassador Krell, an insectoid from the chitin species, was in charge of the event. His shell was a deep green color, and his multiple eyes kept darting around the room. He looked like a giant praying mantis wearing diplomatic robes. "Remember," Krell's voice clicked through his translator, "do not make sudden movements. Do not show your teeth. Do not approach the young ones under any circumstances. The Vixari consider such actions as aggressive threats." Sarah nodded along with the others, but she felt a familiar frustration. The council treated every predator species like a bomb waiting to explode. They didn't understand that fear itself could cause problems. Animals could smell fear, could sense tension. Going into a meeting this scared was exactly how to make things go wrong. The doors opened and the Vixari walked in. Sarah's breath caught. They were beautiful. The lead Vixari was a female, over 7 feet tall with fur that looked like midnight with stars scattered across it. Her eyes were golden and intelligent. She moved with the fluid grace of a hunting cat, every muscle controlled and purposeful. Behind her came 4 other adults and 3 small figures that had to be the cubs. Ambassador Krell stepped forward, keeping a table between himself and the Vixari. "Matriarch Shadowmane, welcome to Outpost Zarth 7. We are honored by your presence." The Vixari leader's translator crackled to life. Her actual voice was a deep, rumbling purr. "Ambassador Krell, we accept your invitation. We hope this meeting brings understanding between our peoples." The formal greetings continued. Sarah watched everything carefully. She noticed how the other council members stayed far from the Vixari, how they flinched at every movement. She noticed how the Vixari cubs stayed close to their guardians, their ears flat against their heads. They were scared too, she realized. These cubs were in a strange place, surrounded by aliens, probably being told to behave perfectly or else. One of the cubs, smaller than the others with bright silver fur, kept looking around the room with wide eyes. Its tail twitched. Sarah recognized that look. Curiosity fighting with nervousness. The cub wanted to explore but knew it shouldn't. The dinner began. The Vixari had brought their own food, which made sense since they were carnivores. The smell of cooked meat filled the air. Sarah noticed how Ambassador Krell and the others tried not to watch the Vixari eat, as if seeing a predator eat meat was somehow frightening. She found it ridiculous. Then it happened. The silver cub, perhaps 8 or 9 years old in human terms, had wandered a few feet from its guardian. It was looking at a floating light display when Sarah shifted in her seat. The movement caught the cub's attention. Ancient instincts kicked in. Something moved. Something small. Prey? The cub leaped. Time seemed to slow down. Sarah saw the cub coming at her legs, claws extending, jaw opening slightly. She saw Ambassador Krell's eyes go wide with horror. She heard someone scream. But Sarah's body reacted on instinct, the same instinct that had helped her work with wild animals for 15 years. She reached down and caught the cub mid-air with one hand under its chest. The cub weighed maybe 40 pounds, heavy but manageable. Before anyone could react, before the cub could process what happened, Sarah spun around in her chair and laughed. A real, delighted laugh. "Well, hello there," she said, her voice warm and friendly. "That was quite a jump. You're a strong little one, aren't you?" The room went silent. Absolutely silent. The cub hung in Sarah's grip, its golden eyes blinking in confusion. It had expected to tackle prey. Instead, it was being held in the air by something that wasn't scared, wasn't running, and was making happy sounds. The cub's claws retracted. Its ears swiveled forward. Then, to everyone's shock, a rumbling sound came from the small creature. It was purring. Sarah carefully brought the cub into her lap, supporting its weight properly. She had held plenty of wild cat cubs before. The principle was the same. The cub was tense for a moment, then relaxed. Sarah scratched behind its ears gently, the way she would with any cat, and the purring got louder. "There we go," Sarah murmured. "You're not scary. You're just curious, aren't you? Just a baby exploring the world." Matriarch Shadowmane stood up slowly. Every other species in the room tensed, expecting violence. But the Vexari leader's expression was not angry. It was surprised. Deeply surprised. "Dr. Chen," the matriarch's translator spoke. "You caught Quickstrike." With one hand, Sarah looked up and smiled. "Was that his name?" "It fits. He's very fast. I hope I didn't scare him. I worked with young predators back on Earth. Just acted on instinct." Ambassador Krell finally found his voice. "Dr. Chen, release that creature immediately. It could kill you." Sarah glanced at the cub in her lap, still purring and now trying to bat at her fingers with its paws, claws carefully sheathed. "I don't think he wants to kill me, Ambassador. I think he wants to play." The other Vexari guardians had moved forward, ready to retrieve the cub, but Matriarch Shadowmane held up a hand, stopping them. She stared at Sarah with an intensity that would have frightened most beings. Sarah met her gaze calmly. "You are not afraid," the matriarch said. It wasn't a question. "No, ma'am," Sarah replied honestly. "Should I be?" For a long moment, the matriarch said nothing. Then slowly her mouth opened slightly, showing teeth. The translator didn't need to explain. Sarah recognized a smile when she saw one, even on an alien face. "No, Dr. Chen," Matriarch Shadowmane said. "Perhaps you should not be." Ambassador Krell looked like he was going to be sick. The other council members whispered frantically. But Sarah just sat there holding a predator cub that was now playing with the end of her hair, and wondered what would happen next. She didn't have to wonder long. The video spread across the galactic network within hours. Someone at the dinner had been recording, and now billions of beings across hundreds of worlds were watching the same impossible scene. A human, one of the new species that had just joined the council, catching a Vexari cub mid-attack and spinning around laughing. The reactions were exactly what Ambassador Krell had feared. "This is madness," clicked Representative Thorax from the insectoid delegation. His shell turned a pale yellow color that meant fear in his species. The human showed no survival instinct, none. "This is evidence that humans are defective. Or suicidal," added Councillor Vreep, a small mammalian creature that looked like a cross between a rabbit and a seal. "My people have studied predator behavior for centuries. You don't touch their young. You don't laugh at them. You don't invite attack. This human violated every rule of survival." Sarah sat in a waiting room outside the council inquiry chamber, listening to the voices argue inside. Lieutenant Webb sat next to her, his face pale. "They're going to send us home," he said quietly. "Maybe ban Earth from the council entirely. All because you had to pet the dangerous alien cat." Sarah didn't answer immediately. She was thinking about Quickstrike, the cub from last night. After the initial shock had worn off, the little Vexari had played with her for almost an hour. He had shown her his favorite toy, a ball made of woven fibers. He had pounced on her feet. He had fallen asleep in her lap while the adults talked around them. She was also thinking about Matriarch Shadowmane's face. The surprise, yes, but also something else. Something that looked like hope. "Marcus," Sarah finally said, "do you remember when we were kids before first contact and people thought aliens would be like the movies? Either perfect angels or evil monsters?" "Yeah, what's your point?" "They think the same thing about us. They've decided we're either harmless or insane. They don't have a category for what we actually are." The doors opened. A security guard, one of the chitin species, gestured for her. "Dr. Chen, the council will see you now." The inquiry chamber was circular, with seats rising up on all sides. Representatives from a dozen species sat in judgment. At the bottom in the center was a single chair for her. Sarah walked down the steps and sat, very aware of all the eyes watching her. Ambassador Krell stood. Dr. Chen, you are here to explain your actions during the diplomatic dinner with the Vexari delegation. Your behavior has caused significant concern among council members. I understand, Sarah said. Do you? Krell's voice was sharp. Do you understand that you could have been killed? That you could have caused a diplomatic incident? That you demonstrated complete disregard for established safety protocols? Sarah took a breath. Ambassador, with respect, I did what I was trained to do. Trained? Representative Thorax leaned forward. You were trained to grab predator cubs? In a way, yes. Sarah looked around the chamber. I grew up working with predators on Earth. Wolves, bears, large cats. I've bottle-fed cougar cubs. I've rehabilitated injured wolves. I've walked through forests where bears lived and never been attacked. I know how predators think, how they move, how they communicate. Impossible, said Counselor Vreep. No one simply walks with predators. That's not how nature works, Sarah almost laughed. That's exactly how nature works on Earth. We didn't just walk with predators. We befriended them. We domesticated wolves 30,000 years ago. Now they live in our homes and sleep in our beds. We call them dogs and they're humanity's best friends. The silence in the chamber was absolute. You live with predators? Thorax's voice was barely a whisper. Not just predators, Sarah continued. Earth is what you classify as a Class 12 death world. Everything there is more dangerous than most council species are comfortable with. Our gravity is high. Our weather is extreme. Our diseases are aggressive. And our animals evolved in an environment where being deadly was the minimum requirement for survival. She stood up, unable to sit still anymore. Do you know what a human child does for fun? They climb trees. They swim in water with currents. They run and jump and fall and get back up. We don't grow up safe. We grow up strong. This is precisely the problem, Krell said. You don't understand appropriate caution. No, Sarah shot back. You don't understand appropriate confidence. When Quickstrike jumped at me, I had a choice. I could scream and panic, which would have scared him and made him defensive. Or I could show him I wasn't prey. I wasn't a threat. I was just another person. I chose the second option. Matriarch Shadowmane's voice suddenly echoed through the chamber. Sarah turned and saw the Vexari leader standing at one of the entrance points uninvited. The human speaks truth, Shadowmane said, walking down the steps. Several council members shrank back. My people have watched the other species in this council for months. You fear us. You fear our young. You build walls between our peoples made of terror and misunderstanding. She stopped next to Sarah. Then this human appears. This small being from a world we had never heard of. And she does something no one else has done. She touched my grand cub and he did not attack. He did not become aggressive. He played, he purred. He felt safe. Krell's shell rattled with agitation. Matriarch, this inquiry is for council members only. Then make me a member, Shadowmane said simply. My people have waited for you to invite us for months. You study us like specimens, you fear us like monsters, but you do not treat us like equals. Because you are dangerous, Thorax shouted. Your species has killed researchers. Your cubs alone have caused 3 deaths. You expect us to simply forget that? Those deaths happened because your people did not know how to interact with us, Shadowmane replied. They approached us like prey approaches a hunter. With fear, with submission. This triggered our instincts to chase, to hunt. But Dr. Chen did not act like prey. She acted like... The matriarch paused. She acted like another predator. An equal. Sarah felt something click in her mind. That's it, isn't it? You're lonely. Shadowmane's ears flicked. Explain. You're the only large predator species in the council. Everyone else evolved on safer worlds. They don't understand you. They think being strong means being violent. They think showing teeth is always a threat. They don't understand that predators can be gentle, can be playful, can be friends. The matriarch's golden eyes studied Sarah for a long moment. You understand? I do, Sarah said. Because humans are predators too. We're not as strong as Vexari, not as fast. But we're still hunters. We evolved chasing prey across long distances, working in packs, using tools and intelligence to bring down animals bigger than us. We know what it's like to be feared. Counselor Vreep made a squeaking sound. Are you saying humans are dangerous? Sarah turned to face the council. We can be, but so can anyone. The question isn't whether someone can be dangerous. It's what they choose to do with that capacity. My people chose to turn our hunting partners into family. We chose to use our strength to protect others. We chose to be more than just killers. And my people make the same choice, Shadowmane added. But we have been alone in that choice. Until now. Ambassador Krell looked between the human and the Vexari. You cannot be suggesting an alliance. Why not? Sarah asked. Earth is interested in building relationships with all council species. But maybe we have something special to offer the Vexari. Understanding, partnership, friendship. The council will need to discuss this, Krell said stiffly. Dr. Chen, you are dismissed. Matriarch Shadowmane, if you wish to apply for council membership, there are proper channels. As Sarah walked out of the chamber, Shadowmane fell into step beside her. In the hallway away from the council's eyes, the matriarch spoke quietly. My grand cub has not stopped talking about you. He wants to know when the laughing human will play with him again. Sarah smiled. I'd like that. If you'll allow it, I will do more than allow it. I would like to request you specifically as the liaison between our peoples. If your government agrees, they will, Sarah said with confidence. Earth doesn't back down from friendships just because they're complicated. Shadowmane's mouth opened in that alien smile. Then perhaps this galaxy is not as lonely as I thought, Dr. Chen. Call me Sarah, and no, matriarch. I don't think you'll be lonely anymore. 3 weeks had passed since Sarah became the official liaison to the Vexari. The outpost had changed in that time. A section had been converted into a cultural exchange area, where Vexari families could meet with the human delegation. What surprised everyone was how popular it became. Sarah sat on the floor of the exchange center, surrounded by 4 Vexari cubs. Quickstrike was there, of course, along with his siblings and cousins. They ranged in age from what would be 5 to 12 in human years. All of them were playing a game Sarah had taught them called tag. Remember the rules, Sarah called out. When you're tagged, you freeze for 10 seconds. No claws, no biting. This is play, not hunting. A small cub named Duskpaw, her fur a deep purple color, tagged her brother Razorwind, and he immediately stopped running. He counted to 10, his tail twitching with impatience, then took off again with a happy growl. Lieutenant Webb watched from a safe distance, shaking his head. I still can't believe this is real. 3 weeks ago, everyone was terrified of them. Now you're playing tag. They're children, Marcus, Sarah said, ducking as Quickstrike leaped over her head. All children need to play. It's how they learn social rules, practice skills, burn off energy. Vexari cubs are no different. A Vexari adult named Steelclaw approached. He was one of the guardians assigned to watch over the cubs during these sessions. Dr. Chen, I must ask, this game of tag, why does it work? Our young ones are trained that chasing is for hunting, yet they understand this is different. Sarah stood up, brushing purple dust from her pants. Because you added rules and context. When they're hunting, there are no rules except success or failure. When they're playing, there are agreed-upon limitations. They learn control. They learn that they can choose to be gentle. We have similar games, Steelclaw admitted, but we do not share them with other species. It seemed, he paused, searching for words. Dangerous. It is dangerous, Sarah agreed. But so is everything worth doing. Trust is always a risk. Friendship is always a risk. But the reward is worth it. Quickstrike bounded up to them, panting. Sarah, teach us another Earth game. Please, Sarah smiled. All right. How about hide and seek? One person counts while everyone else hides, then they have to find everyone. The cubs squealed with excitement. Within minutes, they had scattered throughout the exchange center, hiding behind furniture and storage alcoves, even hanging from ceiling supports. Sarah covered her eyes and counted to 50. Ready or not, here I come. What followed was chaos of the best kind. Sarah searched for cubs while they tried to stay hidden, sometimes succeeding, sometimes giving themselves away by giggling or moving their tails. When she found them, they'd dart away laughing, trying to reach the home base before being tagged. More Vexari adults came to watch. Then, surprisingly, some of the other human crew members joined in. Soon there was a mixed group of humans and young Vexari running around playing, laughing. Matriarch Shadowmane arrived during one of these sessions. She stood at the entrance for several minutes, just watching. Sarah noticed her and walked over. Matriarch, it's good to see you. Sarah? Shadowmane's voice was quiet. I have lived for 67 of your years. I have raised 3 litters of my own. I have seen my people join the council. and be treated like civilized beings for the first time. But this, she gestured to the playing cubs. This is something new. How so? They are not afraid. My grand cub, Quickstrike, he used to tense whenever non-Vexari came near. His parents told me he had nightmares about being rejected, being seen as a monster. Now look at him. Sarah looked. Quickstrike was teaching a human security officer named Kim how to pounce properly. Kim was laughing, falling over dramatically when the cub jumped on her legs. He's just a kid, Sarah said softly. Kids shouldn't have to worry about being monsters. They should get to be kids. Shadowmane was quiet for a moment. Would you walk with me, Sarah? I wish to show you something. They left the exchange center and walked through the outpost corridors. Eventually, they reached the Vexari living quarters. It was different from the rest of the station. The walls were covered in climbing structures. The air was warmer. There were strong smells of meat and spices. Shadowmane led her to a private room. Inside, the walls were covered with images, paintings, drawings, and holograms of Vexari throughout history. This is my family history, Shadowmane explained. 17 generations of warriors, hunters, leaders. We are proud of our strength. But lately I have wondered if pride is enough. She touched one of the images. When the council found us, we thought it would be wonderful. We would have friends among the stars. We would trade stories, share knowledge, build together. Instead, we found fear. Other species looked at us and saw death. They built walls. They made rules. They treated us like dangerous animals that needed to be contained. That must have been painful, Sarah said. It was. And then you arrived. You and your kind from Earth. At first, we did not know what to think. You were small. Soft. We assumed you were like the others, hiding behind technology because you were weak. But then Quickstrike attacked you and you caught him. You laughed. You played with him. And I realized something. What's that? Shadowmane turned to face her. You are not weak. You are strong in ways the others are not. Strong enough to not fear strength in others. Strong enough to show gentleness without shame. Strong enough to be vulnerable. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. Matriarch, your people aren't alone anymore. I promise you that. I know. Shadowmane's large hand, so powerful it could crush stone, gently touched Sarah's shoulder. That is why I have a request. Will you teach our young, not just games but your philosophy? How to be strong and kind. How to be predators and friends. How to be more than what others expect. I'm just a biologist. I'm not a teacher. You taught me more in 3 weeks than the council has in 3 years. You are exactly the teacher we need. Sarah thought about Earth, about home, about the wildlife center where she grew up. She thought about her mother teaching her to raise wolf cubs with love and firmness. Her father showing her that respect for predators meant understanding them, not fearing them. I'll do it, Sarah said, but on one condition. You teach me about Vexari culture too. Real cultural exchange goes both ways. Shadowmane's smile was wide. Agreed. They returned to the exchange center to find it even more chaotic. More humans had arrived, and someone had started teaching the cubs a game called Red Rover. 2 lines of humans and Vexari held hands, calling for individuals to run and break through the line. It was loud, energetic, and completely wonderful. Ambassador Krell stood at the entrance, his shell a disgusted shade of brown. This is inappropriate. This is dangerous. This is friendship, Sarah interrupted him. Maybe you should try it sometime, Ambassador. Krell made an angry chittering sound and left. Sarah didn't care. She had work to do. Over the following weeks, the exchange center became the heart of the outpost. Sarah taught the Vexari cubs about Earth animals, about human history, about the concept of play as learning. Steelclaw and other Vexari adults taught her about their hunting traditions, their music, their stories. One day, Quickstrike asked her a question. Sarah, are all humans brave like you? Sarah laughed. No, Quickstrike. Humans get scared. We have fears. But we don't let fear stop us from trying. Is that why you caught me? When I jumped at you, partly? But mostly because I saw you. Not a dangerous predator. Not a monster. Just a curious kid who made a mistake. And kids deserve second chances. Quickstrike pressed his head against her side, purring. I'm glad you're not afraid of me. Sarah stroked his soft fur. I'm glad you're not afraid to be yourself. More species started coming to watch the exchange sessions. At first from curiosity, then from something else. They saw Vexari cubs being gentle. They saw humans being strong but kind. They saw a different way of being. Some of them started asking questions. Could they join? Could they learn these games? Could they touch the cubs? Sarah always said the same thing. Ask them. They're people, not attractions. Treat them with respect and they'll respect you back. And slowly, carefully, the walls began to come down. Not all of them and not everywhere. But here in this outpost, in this exchange center, something new was growing. Something that looked a lot like hope. The alarm woke Sarah at 0300 hours, screaming through her quarters with urgent intensity. She was on her feet before she was fully awake, training taking over. The alarm code was read. Critical emergency, attack. All personnel to defensive positions, the computer voice announced. This is not a drill. Hostile forces have breached the station perimeter. Sarah grabbed her emergency kit and ran into the corridor. Lieutenant Webb was already there, along with 6 other humans from the security team. They all wore the same expression, alert and focused. Status, Sarah demanded. Raiders, Webb said grimly, at least 30 of them. They came through the cargo bay with military-grade stealth tech. Station defense couldn't see them until they were already inside. What do they want? 3 guesses and the first 2 don't count. Webb pulled up a holographic display. They went straight for the Vexari quarters. Sarah's blood went cold. The cubs. Yeah, these are slave traders, Sarah. Vexari cubs sell for millions on the black market. Rich idiots buy them for fighting rings or as exotic pets. Anger flooded through Sarah's system, hot and fierce. She had spent 6 weeks with those cubs. She knew their names, their personalities, their favorite games. Quickstrike had just learned to read Earth English. Duskpaw loved to draw. Razorwind wanted to be an explorer when he grew up. Where's station security? Pinned down on level 3. The raiders are using some kind of sonic weapon that disrupts chitin nervous systems. Krell and his people are all incapacitated. What about the Vexari adults? Fighting, but the raiders came prepared. They're using flashbang grenades and wide-area stun nets. It's designed specifically for Vexari physiology. Sarah's mind raced. The raiders had done their homework. They knew how to counter the station's primary defense force and the Vexari warriors, but they probably hadn't counted on humans. All right, Sarah said, her voice calm despite the situation. Webb, take 4 people and loop around through the service corridors. Come at them from behind. I'll take Kim and Johnson and go through the main route. We'll catch them between us. Sarah, you're a scientist, not a soldier. I'm also not going to let those cubs be taken. Now move. They split up. Sarah led her small team through the outpost at a run. Her heart pounded, but her mind was clear. She had spent years working with dangerous animals. The key was staying calm, thinking strategically, not panicking. They reached the Vexari quarters entrance and found chaos. Smoke filled the air. The sound of fighting echoed from deeper inside. Sarah saw 3 raiders dragging a cage with 2 small Vexari cubs inside. The cubs were crying, terrified. Johnson, stun shots. Don't kill them if we can avoid it, but stop them. Johnson, a former police officer from Chicago, nodded and took aim with his stun rifle. 3 shots. 3 raiders dropped. The cubs in the cage started crying louder. Sarah ran to the cage. Duskpaw. Razorwind. It's Sarah. You're okay now. Sarah. Duskpaw pressed against the bars. There are more of them. They have quick strike. No. Where? Central chamber. There are too many. The Guardians tried to stop them, but Sarah didn't wait to hear more. She ran toward the central chamber, Kim right behind her. They rounded a corner and nearly collided with a group of raiders. These ones were bigger, wearing heavy armor, carrying weapons that looked designed to kill. Humans? One of them said, surprised. Since when do humans guard Vexari? Since now, Sarah said, and dove to the side as they opened fire. The fight was brutal and quick. Sarah wasn't a soldier, but she had grown up rough. She knew how to take a hit, how to keep moving, how to find weaknesses. More importantly, she knew how to work as a team. She and Kim moved together, covering each other, using the narrow corridors to their advantage. The raiders were strong and well-armed, but they fought like individuals. Humans fought like a pack. 3 minutes later, 4 raiders were unconscious on the floor. Sarah had a cut on her arm and Kim was limping, but they were still moving. They reached the central chamber and Sarah's heart sank. There were at least 15 raiders, all heavily armed. Steelclaw and 2 other Vexari guardians were down, unconscious or worse. Matriarch Shadowmane was still fighting, bleeding from multiple wounds, but there were too many attackers. In the center of the room, locked in a reinforced cage, was Quickstrike. The cub was throwing himself against the bars, screaming, trying to reach his grandmother. The leader of the raiders, A hulking, lizard-like being laughed. "Give up, matriarch. You're valuable alive, but we'll kill you if we have to. The cub fetches the same price either way." Sarah felt something primal rise up inside her. It wasn't fear. It wasn't even anger. It was something older, something that came from 1,000,000 years of human evolution, the instinct that made ancient humans stand between predators and their family, the instinct that made them fight creatures 3 times their size to protect their pack. No one touches the cubs. "Webb," Sarah spoke into her comm. "Where are you?" 3 minutes out. Make it 2. "I'm going in." "Sarah, wait for backup." But Sarah was done waiting. She walked into the chamber weaponless, looking at the raiders with eyes that made several of them step back. "Let the cub go," Sarah said. Her voice was quiet, but it carried. The raider leader looked at her and laughed. "A human? You're not even armed. Get out of here before you get hurt. I'm giving you one chance. Let the cub go." "Or what?" The leader raised his weapon. "You'll bleed on me?" Sarah smiled, and it was not a nice smile. It was the smile of a predator about to teach a painful lesson. "No," she said, "but I'll keep you busy long enough for my friends to arrive." She charged. What happened next became legendary on the galactic net. Sarah Chen, unarmed human scientist, attacked 15 armed raiders to protect a Vexari cub. She didn't win. She wasn't supposed to win, but she didn't need to. She needed to buy time. Sarah dodged the first shot, grabbed a piece of debris, and threw it at the leader's face. She rolled under a stun blast, kicked out a raider's knee, used his body as a shield. She was hit hard but kept moving. Human endurance was legendary for a reason. Humans didn't give up. Humans didn't stop. Humans just kept coming. The raiders were trying to kill one small injured human, and they couldn't land a clean hit. She was too fast, too unpredictable, too determined. Then Webb and his team came through one entrance. Matriarch Shadowmane, inspired by Sarah's courage, rallied for a second attack. More humans poured through another entrance. And suddenly the raiders found themselves surrounded by angry humans and Vexari working together. The battle didn't last long after that. When the station security finally arrived, they found Sarah sitting on the floor next to Quick Strike's cage. She was bleeding from multiple wounds, exhausted, but she was using a piece of torn metal to break the lock. "Hang on, buddy," she whispered. "Almost got it." The lock broke. The cage door swung open. Quick Strike launched himself at Sarah, knocking her flat, crying and purring at the same time. "You came for me," the cub sobbed. "You fought for me." "Of course I did." Sarah held him close, ignoring her own pain. "That's what family does." Matriarch Shadowmane limped over, her wounds already being treated by medics. She looked at Sarah holding her grandcub, and something in her eyes changed. Deep respect, deep gratitude. "You could have died," Shadowmane said quietly. "So could you," Sarah replied. "So could any of us. But we didn't. We fought together. We won together." The matriarch knelt down, bringing her face level with Sarah's. "My people have a tradition. When someone risks their life for our young, they become part of our clan. They become family. Will you accept this honor, Sarah Chen?" Sarah looked at Quick Strike, still clinging to her. She looked at the other Vexari, at the humans who had fought beside them. She thought about what family meant, about how it wasn't always blood, sometimes it was choice. "Yes," Sarah said, "I accept." Later, after the medics had patched everyone up, after the raiders were in custody, after the station had calmed down, Sarah stood at the observation window again. Ambassador Krell approached her carefully. "I owe you an apology," he said, his voice stiff. "I thought you were reckless, dangerous, a liability. I was wrong." Sarah didn't look at him. "Yes, you were. How did you do it? How did you fight like that?" Finally, Sarah turned to face him. "Because I love them, Ambassador. The Vexari, the cubs. They're my friends. And humans don't abandon friends no matter how dangerous it gets." Krell was silent for a moment. "Perhaps the Council has much to learn from your species." "Perhaps," Sarah agreed. "But first, you need to stop being afraid of strength, including your own." She walked away, leaving Krell to think about that. She had cubs to check on and a family to be with. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened 3 days after the raid. Representatives from 200 species filled the Grand Chamber, and for once every seat was occupied. What happened at Outpost Zarth 7 had spread across the entire galaxy. Everyone wanted to see what would happen next. Sarah stood in the center of the chamber again, but this time she wasn't alone. Matriarch Shadowmane stood beside her. So did Lieutenant Webb and the other humans who had fought in the battle. The cub sat in a special viewing area, Quick Strike in the front row, his eyes fixed on Sarah. Ambassador Krell stood to speak first. His shell was a neutral gray color, unusual for him. The Council recognizes the bravery shown by both human and Vexari personnel during the Raider attack. Thanks to their actions, all cubs were recovered safely and the slavers are now in custody. Polite applause rippled through the chamber, but Sarah could feel the tension. This wasn't about congratulations. This was about what came next. Representative Thorax stood. While we acknowledge the positive outcome, we must address the larger issue. The human presence on the outpost directly contributed to the attack. The raiders targeted the station because humans had made the Vexari cubs accessible. Before Dr. Chen arrived, the cubs were properly secured. Properly isolated, you mean? Sarah said quietly, but her voice carried in the acoustic chamber. Excuse me? Sarah stepped forward. You kept them locked away. You treated them like dangerous objects, not children. Is that really the civilization you want to build? One where young beings are imprisoned for the crime of being born strong? They are dangerous, Counselor Vreep said. The records show 3 deaths before proper protocols were established. Those deaths happened because your people approached the Vexari wrong, Sarah replied. You acted like prey. You triggered their hunting instincts. But when you treat them like people, like equals, they respond like people. Nonsense, Thorax clicked. Predators cannot be trusted. They are ruled by instinct and violence. Matriarch Shadowmane's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. Is that so? Then explain how this violent predator has spent 6 weeks playing games with your most vulnerable. Explain how my grand cub, who you claim cannot be trusted, chose to comfort a human child who was crying instead of seeing her as prey. An exception. An anomaly. Then what about the humans? Shadowmane continued. Dr. Chen's species evolved as persistence hunters. They chased prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. They worked in packs to bring down animals 10 times their size. They are predators, Representative. Do you fear them too? The chamber went silent. Sarah saw the realization spreading across alien faces. The humans were predators. Small ones, perhaps. Clever ones. But predators nonetheless, that's different, Thorax said weakly. How? Sarah asked. How is it different? Because we smile? Because we seem harmless? Let me tell you something about humans, Representative. We are persistence hunters. Do you know what that means? She began to walk around the chamber, her voice growing stronger. It means we don't stop. Ever. When we hunted on Earth, we didn't chase prey until we got tired. We chased it until it got tired. We tracked wounded animals for days. We walked across continents. We climbed mountains. We sailed across oceans in wooden boats. We reached our own moon and called it the first step. When we want something, we don't give up. When we protect something, we don't surrender. When we love someone, we don't abandon them. That raider leader, he made a mistake. He threatened something I love. So I fought him. Not because I'm violent, because I'm loyal. She stopped and faced the council directly. You're asking the wrong question. You're asking, are predators dangerous? Yes, we are. But so are you. Every species in this room has weapons, has armies, has the capacity for violence. The question isn't whether we can be dangerous. It's what we choose to do with that power. A new voice spoke up. Sarah didn't recognize the species. A tall being with crystalline skin. What are you proposing, Dr. Chen? I'm proposing we stop pretending civilization means weakness. Real civilization is having the power to hurt others and choosing not to. It's having the strength to fight and choosing to play instead. It's being dangerous and choosing to be kind. The Vexari are my friends. They're strong, yes. They're predators, yes. But they're also artists, philosophers, parents. They laugh. They cry, they love. And they deserve to be treated like the complex, wonderful people they are. Matriarch Shadowmane placed her hand on Sarah's shoulder. My people have waited months to be accepted into this council as full members. We have proven our civilization. We have shown our restraint. We have followed every rule, met every requirement. But still we are kept at arm's length. Why? Because we're afraid, a small voice said. Sarah turned to see Counselor Vreep standing, his tiny hands trembling. Because our people evolved on safe worlds. Because we never had to be strong to survive. Because when we look at you, at the Vexari, at the humans, we see everything we are not. The chamber was silent. We see beings who could hurt us easily, Vreep continued. We see people who move through danger like it's nothing. We see strength we don't have. And instead of admiring it, we fear it. Instead of learning from it, we try to lock it away. He looked at Sarah. You asked what kind of civilization we want to build. I thought I knew. A safe one. A peaceful one. But maybe peace without strength is just fear in disguise. Ambassador Krell stood slowly. Sarah could see the conflict on his face, the war between old fears and new understanding. The Council recognizes the need for change, Krell said finally. We propose the following. Full Council membership for the Vexari effective immediately. The creation of a new position, Interspecies Predator Liaison, to facilitate relationships between all Council species, and the establishment of cultural exchange programs modeled after the one at Outpost Zarth 7. Furthermore, Krell continued, looking directly at Sarah. We formally apologize to both the Vexari and the human delegations for the prejudice they have faced. We acknowledge that our fear has caused harm. We commit to doing better. The vote was swift, overwhelming approval. As the chamber erupted in discussion and debate, Sarah felt someone tug at her hand. She looked down to see Quickstrike. Does this mean you're staying? The cub asked hopefully. Sarah knelt down and hugged him.
For a while longer, yes.
But eventually I need to go home to Earth. Can I come with you? Quickstrike asked. I want to see where you learn to be so brave. Sarah looked at Matriarch Shadowmane, who nodded. If you wish to visit Earth, I think that could be arranged. 3 months later, Sarah stood in the forests of British Columbia, watching the sunrise through pine trees. Beside her stood Quickstrike, now almost adolescent-sized, his silver fur bright against the green forest. On her other side, a gray wolf named Ghost, one of the sanctuary's permanent residents. It's so different from the outpost, Quickstrike said, breathing in the earth air. So many smells, so many sounds. This is where I grew up, Sarah said. This sanctuary. My parents dedicated their lives to helping predators that had been hurt or displaced. They taught me that being strong meant protecting those weaker than you. A rustle in the bushes. Quickstrike tensed, but Sarah put a hand on his shoulder. A moment later, a human child, maybe 6 years old, emerged. She saw Quickstrike and her eyes went wide. Wow, are you an alien? Quickstrike looked at Sarah nervously. She nodded encouragement. Yes, Quickstrike said. I'm a Vexari. My name is Quickstrike. Cool. I'm Emma. Want to play tag? Just like that, child and alien cub were racing through the forest laughing. Ghost joined them, barking happily. Sarah watched and felt her heart swell. Her comm device beeped. Matriarch Shadowmane's face appeared. Sarah, I hope I'm not interrupting. Not at all, Matriarch. How are things at the outpost? Busy, very busy. We've had requests from 6 other species to join the cultural exchange program. 2 of them are predator species who, like us, have felt isolated in the council. They want to learn how to connect with others the way we have. That's wonderful. It is, but it means we need help. I know you wanted time at home, but... Shadowmane paused. Sarah, would you consider training other liaisons? Teaching them what you taught us? Sarah watched Quickstrike playing with Emma and Ghost. 3 predator species from 3 different worlds playing together without fear. This was what the galaxy could be. Should be. Send them, Sarah said. All of them. We have room. We have time. And we have a lot to teach each other. Shadowmane's smile was radiant. Thank you, my friend. The galaxy is changing because of you. Not because of me, Sarah corrected. Because of all of us. Because we chose to see past our fears. Because we chose to be more than what we were. Later that evening, Sarah sat by a fire with her parents, watching Quickstrike sleep peacefully nearby. Her mother put an arm around her shoulders. You did good, honey. I just did what you taught me, Mom. Respect predators. Understand them. Love them. You did more than that, her father said. You taught a whole galaxy that lesson. You reminded everyone that civilization isn't about hiding from what we are. It's about choosing who we want to be.